Steve for taking time out today, and thank you to the Professional Mortgage Women Committee of the Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers for putting this great event on. If you haven't heard Steve before, he's a great teacher and great information we're going to get today. Before we get started, I wanted to mention a few events that we have coming up as well. On May 24th, two of our member companies are going to present everything you ever wanted to know about credit and positioning yourself with borrowers. Chris Palamo of Universal Credit and Ryan Paquin of First Home Mortgage are going to present just like a sit down on how they're getting loans through with credit challenges. So that's a good event. Make sure you look at our website and sign up for that. Then we have on May 27th, affordable products from Freddie Mac and Catherine Kramer-Dale, who are going to present information about that. Also, our sister organization, MBA MW, on June 8th has a great event coming up on conventional income analysis. So look at their website as well. I know Tim Whittier is on this call. That's going to be a great event as well. Then lastly, on June 23rd, Freddie Mac is also going to present information about updates for Maryland lenders. So again, look out. Amanda has just put in the chat box our calendar of events that are coming up. So please check that out. And again, thanks everyone for joining us. We have a great turnout, about 40 people. And Margie, I'll flip it back over to you. And thanks again, Steve, for joining us, and Crystal for helping organize.
Margie, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself, my friend.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so once again, hi everybody. FYI, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this webinar is being recorded. I'm Margie Rhodes, in case you don't know me. I am the Virginia account manager for Genworth MI, and I'm happy to be here to introduce Steve Richmond. Steve is the national spokesperson and customer sales trainer for Genworth. He has energized, taught, and motivated more than 350,000 professionals in every state in our country, speaking at multiple mortgage banker and broker association events, as well as to over 500 lenders across the country. Steve was a successful litigation attorney in his earlier years, but left law to pursue a career in mortgage banking. He has been a loan officer, an account executive, and a manager of a mortgage operation, and is an expert in the high LTV borrower market. Steve is a native of Baltimore and a graduate of University of Maryland, as well as the National Law Center at George Washington University. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, with his wife, son, and daughter. Thanks, Steve. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Margie. Whoa. We get you to mute that, Margie. We're getting feedback off your. There we go. So, yeah, I've talked to over 350,000 people in my career, one of which is Nick's father. So he scares me. So I got to make sure I'm doing okay there. I would rather this be live so I could go get me some G&M crab cakes, because there's nothing better than a G&M crab cake. I know some of you will like Timbuktu better, but I'm all about the G&M. But here's what's happening. I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're recording this, so you'll get it. If you haven't figured out, I'm pretty casual, laid back, and comfortable. Got a question, throw it into the chat box over there. I'll answer it. You can unmute yourself and say, hey, dude, be quiet. I got a question. And I'll be quiet, and I'll listen to your question. Hopefully, I'll answer it. Number one question I typically get is, can I get a copy of your presentation? The wonderful Amanda said, yeah, if you send me the presentation, I'll send it out to all the participants on the call. So I will send a copy. Well, I won't, but Amanda will send a copy of this presentation to each and every one of you. That being said, what are we going to talk about? There's a lot going on out there, so let's jump into it. What am I watching? Where's the market going? What's going to happen, and how am I supposed to deal with it? Well, as you already heard from one Margie. She said, hey, I went to the National Law Center. And what my lawyers are going to tell you is, bottom line, I'm not allowed to tell you what's going to happen in the future. Okay. We don't make predictions. You can't base your business upon what we're going to say. You can't say, oh my gosh, it didn't come true. He said it's going to go left and it went right. Okay. Y'all with me on that? This is just simply opinions. They're my opinions. They're not Genworth's opinions. They're not the MMDA or NAPMW, or they're nobody else's opinions but me. Okay. We're not giving you any predictions of what's going forward, so don't rely on it overly, but I'm going to show you where this information comes from so you'll be able to hit it. And we're going to get information from this guy. If you don't know Elliot Eisenberg, this afternoon, you need to sign up for his blog. Elliot Eisenberg comes out Monday through Friday, and it will tell you what happened in the economy today, every day, Monday through Friday, for free. And he will tell you what happened in the economy in 70 words or less. How you like me now? 70 words or less. That's awesome. But Elliot came out at the beginning of this year, and now let's see what date it was. It was on January 5th. He said, let me tell you what I think, not me, but what Elliot thinks is going to happen in the economy in 2021. He says, hey, look, it's going to be a good year. Yeah, rates might go up a little bit. There might be some inflation. Unemployment's going to bounce around. But overall, economically speaking, we're going to have a good year. So when you sign up for what he does and what he's talking about, you can see where the economy is moving. Great information for you to have. You want to get more specific to mortgages, you got to go to Rob Krisman. Rob Krisman has the #1 mortgage blog in the United States of America. Comes out 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. He takes Sunday off, and he tells you what's going to happen, what your competition's doing, all kinds of good stuff. What did he tell you at the beginning of the year? Well, on January 11th, he said, we're going to do $3 trillion worth of business for the year. Not a bad business to get into, $3 trillion. Now, he did say what? Oh, but we're going to watch maybe some refis go away because rates might go up a little bit. But you know what? Purchases will rebound, so we're going to hit that $3 trillion probably. Then he came back and people said, well, what about rates? Yeah, they're going to go up a little bit, but it's not really going to have that huge effect. Yeah, what's going to happen when we have all these new regulations and the CFPB comes back in? It's going to affect it, but not that much. We're still looking at having a very, very robust business year for 2021. So when we look at it, where everybody got really concerned is second quarter of 2020. Why? Because that's when COVID came out. Remember, I mean, that's like a year ago. Crazy, crazy talk, isn't it? A year ago, COVID came to town and people said, what's going to happen? Oh, no. Well, look what happened. Home appreciation went down for a quarter and then it shot right back up. Home sales went down, bottom right-hand corner of your screen, went down for a quarter and then they shot right back up. Affordability got hurt for that one quarter and then it improved right again. So what we're looking at is, hey, the COVID stuff came in and we'll talk about it a little bit, but its major impact happened for one quarter and that was it. So we could see what those numbers are looking like right there. So much so that Fannie Mae came out and said, hey, you know what? 2020. And I'm going to guess that most of you on this call had a really good 2020. Well, they're saying home sales are going to be even higher in 2021. They're saying, I know that Krisman said we're going to do $3 trillion worth of business, but now that we've looked into this, it's the middle of April, this is less than a month ago, they said it's looking more like $4 trillion worth of originations in 2021 and $3 trillion in 2022. So I was originally asked, hey, can you talk about how to grow your business? And the answer is there's a lot of business out there. So we're going to show you some ways to look at it, to work with it, and make it happen. All right. So we're looking at a very strong business model that's sitting right there. There's a lot of noise. Turn off the television. Stop with all the garbage that's going on. Namaste, my friends. It's all going to be all right. And we do have to talk. The biggest fight right now, in my opinion, in the United States is political. I mean, if you look, there was major political news that happened this morning within one of the parties. And my comment is, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Libertarian, I don't care if you're an independent, I don't care if you like Biden, I don't care if you hate Biden, I don't care if you like Trump, I don't care if you hate Trump, I don't care if you like Liz Cheney, I don't care if you hate Liz. It don't matter to me. I'm going to deal with facts. And what happens is, I don't care what party you're a part of, none of them want high unemployment. None of them want the housing market to crash. None of them want the economy to suffer. Now, how they make the economy good, how they make the market good, that could be very, very different. Don't get me wrong. But they're all doing what they think is best for the country in those areas. And if you look at it and look at the numbers, look at that. When Joe Biden was vice president and Barack Obama was president, look what happened to unemployment. On a very steady decline, it went down starting in 2010. Pardon me. Then Republican Donald Trump comes in and it continues to go down basically at the same pace. I mean, you look at that chart, it's been going in the same general direction. Why did it spike up? It wasn't Trump. I don't care if you like him, don't care if you dislike him. It was COVID. COVID came to town second quarter of 2020. Unemployment went up and it's been coming down ever since. Well, what about the Dow Jones? Well, under the Democrats, it sort of looked pretty steady increase. And when the Republicans came in, that steady increase continued to go up. When do we see the dip? Second quarter of 2020. We had new Dow Jones high last week. So you're looking, it's still very, it's moving. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. Stop. Namaste. What about interest rates? Interest rates have been below 5% since like 2010. According to everything that I'm hearing this year, we're going to float between 3 and 4%. That's where we are. And if you're sitting there going, oh my God, I can't do this. We went up to 3.25. I got to tell you, you got to get over yourself, my friends. Because what we're looking at 3.25, when my man Joe Camo and I were in the business a long time ago working together, we had rates at 10, 11%. 3.25 is good. 4 is good. The National Association of Realtors says it's not until it goes over 6% that it's going to affect the first-time home buyer. So we're looking at fantastic rates. What about home values? Guess what? I don't care who's in the White House. It's pretty much a very steady incline. It's been an improvement. There's that one little spot where it sort of levels off right there. What is that? That's second quarter of 2020. We already talked about that. So when we look at home sales, it's been pretty steady incline, no matter who's been in the White House. We have the drop for second quarter and then it rebounds back again. We're looking that things are going in the general direction that are positive for our business. Now, I just showed you some charts. Let's look at a couple of numbers where we can really see who's buying these homes. There's a thing called the National Association of Realtors Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers, which is a phenomenal publication. I've been reporting on that for about 14 years now. You can buy your own copy of it. It costs about $150. To be honest with you, now that it's May, I probably wouldn't do it because it comes out in November, so it's almost half a year old right now. But what they do is they will give you, and we're going to give you, Amanda's going to give you a free copy of this presentation. She's going to email it out to you. But there's a highlight link where you can get the 8 pages worth of highlights that are absolutely free. But in the year that we're talking about, the way that they do it is they do it July through June. So they don't do, January to December. They do July through June. You with me on that? But they did something really cool this year. Instead of just doing July through June, which they did, they then broke out April through June for when it was what? For when COVID was in town. So how has COVID affected the market? Well, let's talk about that for a second. When COVID came to town, and now that it's here, what we're watching is the people that are doing well are continuing to do well, and the people that are suffering are continue to suffer. So therefore, we're watching median income go up about $16,000 to $17,000. So the buyers are ones who are making a little bit more money now, about $17,000 more money. We are watching more multi-generational homes being bought right now. But the big difference on these multi-generational homes, and you see, think about this for marketing purposes and growing your business. Well, wait a minute. There's more multi-generational homes. Maybe I should tell people that I do multi-generational homes. But what's the difference? Why did it go from 11 to 15? Because it used to be, I got a multi-generational home because my kids are living here. Now we're moving our parents back there. Now our parents are coming to live with us. So that's where the multi-generational home growth comes from, is parents moving back into the home and that's where you are. When we look at that, okay, since my parents are moving in with me, I'm not going to be there quite as long because they're going to leave earlier than my kid's going to leave, and therefore I'm only going to be there 10 years compared to 15 years. When we continue to look at it, they are what? They're moving into the suburbs. Where are they not moving into? They don't want to go into a small town. Why? Because you don't have the health care that they want to have there. They're not going into the big cities. Why? Because they don't want to be around all the other people and possibly get infected. So we've seen a boom that has happened in the suburbs. See, we can start to think, okay, this is how I need to start to market this. And we're watching the home value. As I showed you, it's been increasing over time. We're looking at the median price of a home going from what? $270 to $339. It went up almost $70,000. Is that good for you? Probably, because you're looking at what? That means higher mortgages. That's what we're looking at right there. We take it one step further, we're going to talk about a thing called a K. Now, what is a K? Now, if you're looking at me right now, look at me. Hi, hi, hi. I'm waving to you. You see me right here in the video? People in the past, 2008, 2009, they said, oh my gosh, the economy went bad. Is it going to be a V? It went down, and then it went right back up. Was it a U? It went down, it stayed down, and then it went up. It's going to be a K. It is a K. What is a K? A K means what's working is working and what isn't, isn't. So what we're watching is, go to the bottom right-hand corner of this screen. Airline pilots, struggling. Flight attendants, struggling. Anybody who works for the airline. Hotels, bartenders, waiters, waitresses, food, hospitality. Those are struggling right now, and they're trying to figure out, hey, how do we get back into the economy? Right now, Wall Street's doing great. Banks are doing well. Insurance is doing well. Real estate agents, mortgage professionals, software technology. These are all doing very well. So that's why it looks like a K. It's split. You either are the software part of it or the technology that's up there, or you're talking about the food and hospitality services down here. That's where we have to see how the breakout happens. Why do we see that it's impacting the less educated? Why do we see it's impacting the younger workers more? Because that's where we find them on the bottom end of the K. They're more in those bartender, waiter, waitresses, hospitality worlds than in some of the other banking worlds and things of that. So I just want you to sort of see where it is and the impact that's happening on the market. The other one, from a mortgage and a real estate perspective, people have a different concept when they're purchasing their homes. One, they're less interested, less worried about, do I have to be close to the office, because they realize, hey, I can work from home. I know I have this background that's behind me right now. Those are whales. That's from Alaska. But I'm actually, and I don't mind telling you, I could turn my background off just so you know where I am. I'm actually speaking in the bathroom of my house right now. I am. My wife and I, we did not communicate well this morning. And we have a structural engineer who had to come in to see what home improvements we're going to make, because I'm getting a home office. Hello. So they're downstairs trying to figure that out while I'm having this conversation with you all. Great thing if you're an originator to say, should we be looking at doing some cash out refi, some home improvements, something like that? Because a lot of that is happening right now. How can we start to go out and market and deliver on that? So that's how we see the difference with what's going on with the homeowners, that they're trying to do that, and the builders and all that. We get where we are right now. No problem. Let's jump. I already showed you this one right here, but the one that affordability, home sales, boom. But pay attention in particular, because we're going to get back to this in a minute, this 90-day delinquency rate. Right now, there's a lot of people who are in forbearance. We're going to talk about forbearance in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get there, I promise you. But that's what's keeping this 90-day delinquency rate very flat right now, because so many people are going through the forbearance. There's also a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures. So this is keeping us low because payments aren't necessarily due right now. That's going to change. We're going to share that in just a couple of minutes. So back to the NAR and the numbers that they have. One thing I want you to pay particular attention to is home buyers. The median age of a repeat buyer is 55. Hi, that's me. When I started out in this business, I was like 55, that's a bunch of old people. Now I'm a bunch of old people, okay? So if you're not 50, see, what I want you to get is this, check this out. In 2000, I started in the business in 96. In 2000, most of our home buyers were 39. They're now 55. That's 16 years difference. Today's 55-year-old is very different than the year 2000's 55-year-old. They are much more computer savvy. They are much more functional when it comes to technology, things of that nature, so you don't have to shy off of that. When we look at these first-time buyers, it really hasn't changed since 2000. It's been in the low 30s, and we don't see that changing anytime really soon. They make $96,500, and most people who buy a home make over $55,000. 80%. 4 out of 5 people earn over $55,000 when they purchase a home. But I want you to think about that. What's that cutoff for that 55? According to Indeed.com, what we're looking at is the average starting salary of a college graduate is $50,000. So if you're saying, who should I go after? What is a stronger market for me? The more highly educated, we're back to that K concept. Remember the K recovery? When you have the education, you're getting more income and a more likely probability of owning and purchasing a home. So that's what we're looking at right there. We are looking that most people are couples when they purchase a home. Bottom line, you need 2 incomes to qualify today. Here's one that jumps out at you, and I'm going to talk about this one just for a minute. We've been hearing ever since I got in the industry in 96 about emerging markets, about diversity, right? But if you look at it, 83%, a big majority, of all buyers were white Caucasian. That number hasn't changed since 2004 when it was 84%. I know 1% is different, but I don't think it's statistically significant. When we look at it, since 2006, 96% of buyers are speaking English as the primary language in their household. Where's the emerging market? Where's the diversity? Hold on, 90% of buyers were born in the United States of America. That's 1% less than the year before. Where we see the difference is the first-time home buyer. So check this out. You want diversity? You want emerging markets? That's the first-time home buyer. So that's how we need to start to think when we start to go after these people. See, 31%, nearly a third of the market are FTBs or first-time buyers. It used to be 40%, but it's been this number since like, I don't know, 2014, it's been under 35%. So last 10 years, it's under 35%. That's the new normal. They're 33 years of age. I already showed you that. They make $80,000, but look at this change. It drops for the white Caucasian. First-time home buyers only make up 74% of the market. That's where we're watching the emerging markets come into play. That's where we're watching the greater diversity, right there with the first-time buyer. Now, these first-time buyers, most of them are renting before they're buying, but check this out. 11% live rent-free with their parents before they buy a home. Doesn't it make it harder to purchase a home if you can't prove that you've been paying rent for the past 2 years? Of course it does. So this is something we can go out and educate people about, that even if you're renting from your parents, living with your parents, give them some kind of rent and be able to prove it, have a trail, a paper trail of that, and that will help you get approved for the loan. Now, I do want to talk just a little bit about first-time home buyers, but I'm taking you out of the NAR world, okay? This is a totally different world sitting over here. First thing I want you to talk about is this thing called the Down Payment Toward Equity Act of 2021. Oops. What happens with the Down Payment Towards Equity Act of 2021? What is that? Okay. Look, you all are from, well, Joe Biden, when he was on the campaign trail, said he wants to get $15,000 tax credit to first-time home buyers. That's what he said on the campaign trail. Now, I went to a place called Pikesville Junior High School. You probably know where that is. It's over there on Old Court Road. And I went to Pikesville Junior High School when it was Towson State University, Emily, okay? It was Towson State back in the day. And when I went there, I ran for student government. I know it's Pikesville Middle School now, but it was junior high when I went there. And when I went, I ran for student government, and there was a kid that ran against me. And when we had the elections, we had to make speeches. And I made my speech, and then he made his speech, and this is what he said. He said, if I get elected, we're going to have soda in the cafeteria for lunch. I lost. Yet, we never got soda in the cafeteria for lunch. So a lot of people say things on the campaign trail that may or may not come true. There's no promise or a guarantee of that. Still waiting for my soda at Pikesville. But while we haven't seen a lot of conversation from Joe Biden about the $15,000 tax credit, there are 3 proposals that have been floated out there in regards to giving some type of first-time home buyer benefit. The one that has taken the most traction is either a $15,000 or up to a $25,000, not a tax credit, but a benefit for first-time home buyers. They turned that into the Down Payment Toward Equity Act of 2021, and they have introduced that into the new budget. So we're looking at, is it going to be approved or not through that? We don't have the answer yet because they're debating it in Congress, but instead of having it a standalone piece, they put it in front of the entire budget, and there's a piece of it that's saying, let's help out first-time home buyers. I don't know if it's going to get approved or not, but it's certainly something I'm watching. Student debt. I'm watching a lot about student debt. First thing I'm watching about student debt is they said student debt isn't due. See, now, and this is where I go back, excuse me. This is where I go back. I don't care who you like in politics. When Donald Trump was president of the United States, he said, hey, look, COVID's here. We're going to stop you, not require payments on student debt right now. Joe Biden came in, he said, I'm going to extend the not requiring payment on student debt right now. And he has now extended until October of this year. So it doesn't matter, Republican and Democrat, they both have extended student debt and not making it due right now. Now, what else is going on with student debt? Maxine Waters out of California, who's a very important person in the House, she comes out and says, I want $50,000 worth of student debt to be forgiven per person. Joe Biden said, no. 50,000, way too high. How about 10,000? The Republicans said, how about you pay your bills? If you took the debt, you knew it was responsible. I paid my debt, you pay your debt. No forgiveness. What I think is really interesting, and I don't know which one's going to win, but what I think is really interesting is when you go from Waters to Biden from 50 to 10, the National Association of Realtors will tell you that the average debt of somebody coming out of college is $30,000. Notice what's between 50 and 10, that's that 30. That's what we're looking at for that number. So we're watching that they're all trying to see, hey, should we make student debt forgivable to a certain amount? Now, you may have seen the news 3 weeks ago where Elizabeth Warren came in and said, hi, I'd like to eliminate about $2 billion worth of student debt. That has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. The student debt that Elizabeth Warren wants to get rid of is fraudulent student debt. She's saying, hey, that's not forgiveness. That's getting rid of it because you shouldn't have been charged it because they weren't delivered the education that they were promised in the first place. So Elizabeth Warren's comment about student debt forgiveness, the $2 billion, has nothing to do with regular debt or known debt or people who went through the education. This was for profit schools that she says took advantage of those students and is now collecting that money, and she wants to eliminate that. Totally separate from the other stuff, okay? I just don't want you to get confused when you hear about this student debt. Now, you're going to complain and get upset and angry that there is no inventory. If there was inventory, I could write more loans. Here's my one place where I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you two, but here's one of the two places I'm going to show you. It's okay. 10% of homeowners, this is according to Realtor.com, 10% of homeowners said they're going to sell their house this year. They're going to list their house this year. And over the next 3 years, 26% of homeowners are thinking about listing their house. So what we're watching is this increase in inventory is right here. It's just waiting for something to happen, and then it's going to move forward. It's already in their mind that we want to get our home onto the market. We're just waiting for the very right scenario to be there. And what they're looking at is those people that are thinking of listing are valuing their homes at under $350,000, which is perfect for whom? The first-time home buyer. So we're looking that we need those people, those first-time home buyers, to get into that marketplace, and that's where we're looking at it right there. Okay? So those are how your numbers are shaking out there. What else? Who are you going to call? Don't you dare say Ghostbusters. But I'm going to tell you that people still call on real estate agents. 88% of all home buyers use a real estate agent. Why is this important to you? Because 24% of buyers got a list of lenders from their real estate agent. 24% of buyers got a list of mortgage lenders from their real estate agent. So if I'm working with a real estate agent, I am going to demand that I get put on that list. And I'm going to try and figure out what makes me different than the other people that are on that list, because that's one way that you're going to be getting in front of more people, by working with that real estate agent to be on that list. All right. So there's our numbers. There's our stats. There's our facts. What else am I watching right down the street from you all in Washington, D.C.? Now, I don't care politically where you are, but what I think is happening in D.C., in my opinion, they giveth with one hand and they taketh away with the other. So the minute you go, oh my God, this is bad, then they do something, you go, oh, well, that's pretty good, right? I mean, it's not like all bad for one and all good for the other. Let me show you what I'm saying here. Banks, mortgage companies, lenders, you're going to be getting more scrutiny by the CFPB, probably. You might face that. Corporations are probably going to get higher taxes, going up to about 28%. Now, remember, before Trump took in, it was 31%. He dropped it down to 21%. So they're not looking at going all the way back up to 31, but to 28. And wealthier individuals are looking at getting taxed higher at about $400,000. Oh, horrible, horrible, horrible. But hold on. What did we already talk about? There's a $1,400 benefit that got handed out to everybody. And the Wall Street says, we love this. It's keeping consumer confidence up. It's having people spend more. It's allowing people to purchase stocks, Bitcoin, whatever you want to do, right? So that's all. That economic relief is actually helping out tremendously a lot of people. We're also looking at what? Trying to figure out this $15,000 first-time home buyer tax credit or something similar to that, to help the first-time buyer. The first-time buyer is not making over $400,000, so you're taking away from one, you're giving to the other. I'm not saying that you like that idea. I just want you to see how there's a balance there. But as much as we say, hey, we're changing the political landscape, we're changing the laws, the rules, and the regulations, most of those rules and regulations and laws are going after trying to defeat racial inequities, discrimination, poor disparity within the home owning. So what we're looking at is, it's not really saying this is who we're going after. They're saying if you're not being fair racially, that's who we're going after. If you're discriminating, that's who we're going after. And I don't think anybody's going to argue, well, I think discrimination's good. I'd imagine you're not going to argue that one. So those things that they're saying they're going to go after hard right now are the ones that you probably think should be gone after right now. Now, let me show you a couple other things. The CFPB has this rule called, well, the CFPB doesn't have the rule, but it's called a QM rule, qualified mortgage. If you don't know what it is, let me know and I'll answer that for you. But what happened was, the qualified mortgage came in and they said, we need the final rule on the definition of QM by July 1st of 2021. The CFPB came out and right, they said, this is what it's got to be. And they came out and they said, let's make it October 1st, 2022. Let's study it a little bit more. So you're going, okay, so I don't have to worry about QM. Freddie and Fannie came out and said, hold on. You know what? We're going to require it by July 1st, 2021. And if you're outside the current one, forget about what's going to happen until October 2022. But if you're outside it today, on July 2nd, we're no longer going to buy those types of loans. So what we're watching is we're set up for a big fight between Freddie and Fannie and the CFPB on what the definition of QM is and when that's going to be enforced. I can't tell you what the answer to that's going to be. I think it's probably going to be going to court relatively soon from what I hear, but that's where we're getting the difference. So if you hear anything about QM, we don't have an answer for that right now. We're trying to figure it out. We talked about that $1,400 to each person. That's called the American Rescue Plan. That's aimed at invigorating the economy. So you're saying, well, I don't like the change in taxes. Yeah, but we're looking at putting 1.9 trillion back into the economy. It's helping some, not helping others. Boom, boom, boom. That's what it is. You got the $1,400 direct payment. You're helping these small businesses, the bottom part of the K, the restaurants and mom and pop shops, stuff like that. You're watching that, helping people, and you're going, what do I care if they're helping people with their rent? Because if they're behind on their rent, they're going to have trouble getting a mortgage. But if they're staying current with their rent, they're going to more easily qualify for the mortgage. So this is something you do care about. And when it does come time to make your mortgage payments, they're putting $10 billion against helping people make their mortgage payment. Now, Janet Yellen, who's the Treasury Secretary, she's responsible for overseeing all of this. Just want you to see big picture of what's going on right there. What else am I looking at? Biden has said, hey, let's get rid of these government, let's get rid of these credit reporting agencies and make it a government-run credit reporting agency. Whoa, don't worry about it. It might happen, but it ain't going to happen in the next 6 months, okay? So if this does happen, this is soda in the cafeteria. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but this is not on his near-term agenda. So if you heard it and you've been thinking about it, we can push that to the back burner right now. I already told you that the CFPB went out to October 1st of 2022 for the new QM rule, but the GSE said, nope, we're going to do it on July 1st of 2021. We already talked about that. You may have heard about a rumor from the FHA saying we're going to lower our prices for the mortgage insurance premium, the MIP. That was floated around a lot recently. I just want you to know that Marsha Fudge, who's the new HUD secretary, said just recently that there's no near-term plans to change FHA's mortgage insurance premium pricing. So if you've been working with customers and you've been saying, I'm going to hold on with that for that because I know that there's going to be a reduction in price, Secretary Fudge came out just recently, about a month and a half ago, and said, I don't see a near-term change in that. So I just want you to know where we are with that. Inventory as a problem. Well, when you're looking at it, Maryland, you actually do have a little bit of a problem. The average in the United States of America is that you're looking at getting 4.8 offers on any home that is for sale right now. In Maryland, that number is 5. So you're a little bit higher than average. You're at 5 when 4.8 is the average in the country. So you're getting a lot of homes when it's for sale. People are trying to gobble that stuff up. What we are watching, and this is, look at what the numbers are. Everybody's saying, is it all cash buyers today? It's up a few percentage points, like 2-3 percentage points. That's not really, you might feel that here and there, but that's not a major upswing. We've been dealing with this stuff back in 2012, 2013, when it was over 30%. We're still in the very low 20s. So that's where we are right now. I just want you to see what's going on around you. The other one that I do want to talk about just briefly is this forbearances. Now, the forbearance, remember this about a forbearance. It's simply the pause button. It still is money that's due and owing. It's just not due and owing this month. We're adding it to the end of the loan. It used to be, hey, you have 12 months, so right now in May, you're going to have to repay it. They've now extended that, and they've pushed it out to 15 months, so it's now in September and October those forbearances are going to come due. This is an interesting concept. So when I look at this, Ronald Reagan a long time ago said the 9 scariest words that you can ever hear is, I'm from the federal government, I'm here to help. The good thing is the federal government is, both under Trump and under Biden, trying to help. If you go back to 2008, 2009, there was the problem when the bubble burst, and then they tried to figure out afterwards. Here, the government is saying, let's all work together to figure out how to prevent a big problem from occurring. So that is actually a very positive step in that direction. And I'm just going to flip down here to this last part right here. People always ask me, oh, are we in another bubble? There's no inventory, and that's a bad thing. Actually, having little inventory is a positive long-term thing. Having little inventory is a positive long-term thing because that helps protect us from getting into another real estate bubble like we were in 2008, 2009. Why? Because in 2008, 2009, what happened? People owed more money than their home was worth. So they walked away from their home, which had a glut of inventory on the market, and that's why we had the big bubble. Today, there is more equity in home ownership than any other time in US history, which means they have money. So they're not going to walk away from their home. They have equity in their home. So what they're doing is they're saying, wait a minute, I'm not underwater. My house is worth more than I owe, and there's no inventory, which means I know I'll be able to sell it quickly and easily. So therefore, I can get more money into my pocket. The fact that there's low inventory and high home values right now is what's helping protect us from another bubble from occurring. I'm not saying that it's not going to occur, but in the short term, that is helping us right now. So when you say it's all a bad thing, it really isn't. There is a positive reason for that that's happening right now. So what we just did was looked at what's going on in the marketplace, where are their numbers at, what's going on in DC, and now you're going to say, how do I start to transfer this to myself, and how can I start to make myself a little bit better and my company better? Well, I'm going to go a little Doc Brown on you for a second. I like TED Talks. If you've never watched a TED Talk, it's at TED.com, really good stuff. Free presentations, go check them out. But I want to bring a couple of them to your attention. And the first one I want to bring to your attention is this guy, Sir Ken Robinson. Over 66 million have seen this. He says, do schools kill creativity? Not Towson State, not University of Maryland. But in his presentation, he says, education takes us into a future that we can't predict. Hold on a second. Education is the same as training. It's what we're doing on this call right now. It doesn't mean formal scholastic education is training. So when we look at that, the problem that Ken Robinson says, and I tell you, how do we start to market? How do we work with others? Stop doing it the way that you've always done it. We teach how we were taught, which means when I started way back there a long time ago, in 1996, I got handed a book called Mortgage Essentials from the Mortgage Bankers Association. It was a blue spiral book, and they handed it to me. They said, you have 2 weeks, go read this. This is how we do things here. This is what's going on in the market. You're ready, now go out and sell. They never taught me how to sell. They never taught me leadership. They never taught me creativity or marketing. So what we need to do is stop teaching people, the new people into this industry, the way that we were taught. We need to start thinking about these new things like creativity and marketing and leadership. So I'm going to talk about creativity for a second. See, because this is where we are. And those who win are going to create their future. You can still survive by simply what? Adapting to how other people created the future. And that's okay to do. You follow what I'm saying? Either you're the first one there, or you could show up second, third, fourth, fifth. You could still survive, but if you want to win, you got to create the future. I'll give you a quick example of it. McDonald's. The number one department or division of McDonald's is actually their real estate holdings. They say, where should we place the McDonald's? More than they put time, energy, and effort into their hamburger, it's where should we put the store? You with me on that? So they created the future by figuring out where they should be. Wendy's said, all right, they told me where to be. And now if you look, any Wendy's is within 1 mile of a McDonald's because all they did was follow or adapt to what McDonald's did and they followed them there. You with me on that? So you say, well, how do I start to get creative for that? Well, that's called an SWOT, a SWOT analysis. Every time I work with anybody I work with, we do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? S. What are your weaknesses? W. Where do you see opportunities? O. What's threatening your business? T. And as soon as somebody says, I have weaknesses and I have threats, that's what they want to concentrate on. I'm here to tell you, yes, you have to look at your weaknesses and your threats, but don't you dare forget about your strengths and your opportunities. Because when you leverage your strengths, you find opportunities where the competition is not, and now you have just created your future. So what we're looking at is, that's why basically I have my job. I said, how can I figure out, I like this public speaking, I like this training thing. How can I figure out when the competition's not there, how can I leverage that strength to find opportunities to get in front of wonderful people like you? So instead of just talking about the mortgage, we're trying to figure out other ways to go after it. It's not just about rate. So you got to look, yes, weaknesses and threats are important, but don't you dare forget strengths and opportunities. Which takes me to this next concept about not being able to predict the future. We hate to be wrong. We look at others. We like to remove risk. We like to say, well, they did it right, so I'm just going to follow what they did. But then you're never going to be creative. You got to be prepared to be wrong, to be original. When I was a little boy back there in Baltimore, Maryland, my brother Michael, some of you might know my brother Michael, he's a couple of years older than me. And we were little boys, and we got off the school bus, and this was from Wellwood Elementary School. I'll tell you exactly where I went to school. And he was hungry, so he made himself a sandwich. So he toasted 2 pieces of white bread from the Giant Food on Reisterstown Road. He toasted them, and then he put peanut butter on them, and then he put bacon on them. And I just said peanut butter and bacon. And my mother says, no, you can't eat that. That's wrong. You're supposed to have peanut butter and jelly, not peanut butter and bacon. And I'm here to tell you that my brother created one of the greatest sandwiches of all time, the peanut butter bacon sandwich. My point is, if we're only going to do it the way other people have always done it, we're going to get the same, possibly the same results, if maybe even worse than what they got. We need to sometime take that risk. We need to try to be a little bit different. That doesn't mean you ignore the other stuff, but leverage those strengths to find you opportunities. Now, can I really not predict the future? Of course, well, that's not supposed to be there. Sorry, this one is. But can we not really predict that future? Nobody knew that we were going to be going through COVID right now and be wearing masks and all that stuff. But what we need to do is hypothesize, plan, and pilot for what's coming next. We're guessing, we're thinking, but we're not 100% sure. How do we do this? I give you 4 macros that you should be looking at. You need to look at technology all the time. The changes in technology are the things where everything's changing and we need to keep up with technology. And typically what you will find is the new companies, the new entrants into our business, how they're differentiating themselves from anybody else is through their technology. They're bringing the new technology into the business. So I'm watching those new entrants. And they're coming from outside the industry. So they're bringing things in from other industries to figure out how to use that in the mortgage market. That's why I watch outside the industry. I'm watching the real estate industry. Think about this. They're looking at the hotel industry. In the hotel industry, it used to be you needed a key to get into your hotel room. Then it was you needed a key card to go into your hotel room. Now all you need is your phone because it has Bluetooth technology to be able to get into your hotel room. I'm watching real estate agents now walk up to homes and put their Bluetooth technology against the door, and it unlocks the door at the home, and now they can go in and give a tour to their people. How cool would it be with that Bluetooth technology when they're giving a tour if they could actually do something with the mortgages on that app that is right there? So I'm watching the outside the industry come in with their new technology, and we have to start to apply that. The government, fortunately, I have a guy who tracks the government for me. His name is Dwayne Duncan. So I don't have to track the government, but if your company doesn't track it, you need to get comfortable because they're changing things all the time. Now, the most famous TED Talk, one of the most famous TED Talks of all time is a guy named Simon Sinek. And he says, we keep educating people. And what do? I'm a loan officer. How do we do it? I call them real estate agents. We got to talk to the why. That's what Simon Sinek says. But I like what Brene Brown says. Brene Brown comes out, and what she says is, I can't tell you, Ron Gart, exactly what your why is on this planet. And Susan Kilroy, I don't know why you're on this planet and why you are an originator or a processor or whatever, but I can tell you why we are as human beings on this planet. We're neurologically wired for connection. Connection is why we are here. And when we connect to our environment and to others, we get purpose and meaning within our own lives. Which takes us over here to what Robert Waldinger says. He says, you're right, we need connection. And what Robert Waldinger says in his TED Talk, What Makes a Good Life, is good relationships or good connections keep us healthy and happy. And it helps when you have a good connection. It helps with your brain to develop and grow and function well. 1 in 5 people in the United States of America says that they're lonely. And when you're lonely, your brain starts to decline function. So having better connections, better relationships help you do your job, sitting right there. Now, that doesn't guarantee you're going to be happy. There's car accidents, there's COVID. Relationships are messy, and sometimes they fall apart. But he does say a divorce is better than an unhappy marriage. And when we say that, I want to say this to you. Do you feel connected? Do you have a good relationship with your company, with your coworkers, with your employees, with your customers? That doesn't mean that you don't bicker. But when we do look at this, when we look at this phone, you got to tell me that affects relationships. It absolutely does. So we need to make sure that we are connecting. Video is critical today. That is why I am on video sitting right here, because I know that you can look at me and you can say, okay, he's really paying attention to what he's doing. Have you ever been on a phone call and said, I bet you they're texting somebody right now, or I bet you they're typing something right now? Of course you have. If you want to be connected to your customer, A, go on video and they know that you're paying attention to them. And B, by being on video, you are more connected because you put all the other distractions away because you know that they can see you. So if you want to forge a better relationship, I'm telling you, video is a great way to go. Now, I'm going to do these because I'm looking at my time very, very quickly. But Sean Acker says, I understand that there's no guarantee for the future, but what we are looking at is 2 things he's going to tell you right here. 1, long-term happiness is 10% of actually what happens. 90% is your rose-colored glasses, Emily Rose. It's the rose-colored glasses that you have on and how you view the world. Now, what he then says is, but if you want to be successful at your job, 25% is your IQ, your knowledge, your education, understanding what's going on with rates in the market. But 75% is, do you believe you can do it? Are you optimistic? Do you have good relationships? Do you have good connections? And are you able to deal with stress? I mean, when we look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off, would you rather work with Cameron or would you rather work with Ferris Bueller? Cameron says about Ferris Bueller, Ferris is not the smartest kid, but what does he say? Everything's going to work for him. Margie, are you telling me that my time's up? I'm finishing up right here. I see you coming on. But we'd say, I'd rather work with Ferris. He's fun. Why? He's optimistic. He's got more friends. Cameron says, everything always works out for that guy. He doesn't get stressed about anything. What does Ferris say about Cameron? His college roommate's going to kill him because he's wound so tight that he's not able to handle any strange situation that is thrown his way. So when we realize that education takes us into a future that we can't predict, and our rose-colored glasses make up 90%, and we realize 70% of our success is based upon our relationships and our positivity and our ability to deal with stress, that takes us a long way beyond just knowing what the numbers are and looking at what the numbers are and applying it to be able to go forward. I've been talking now for 57 minutes. I simply ask you this. What questions, thoughts, comments, concerns do you have about anything I've been talking about, anything I haven't talked about, or anything you wished I had talked about? Go into the chat box, type it in there, or unmute yourself and go on in there and let me know. If you have no question, I have a question for you, or actually Mike has a question for you. Was this 57 minutes worthwhile? Are you glad you were on this presentation? Did you get anything out of it? So if you did or you didn't, let me know, because I want to make sure that I was able to give you all what you were looking for through this presentation. So just go in the chat box and tell me if this was any good or not good, or any questions that you have at this point in time. Thank you, Hillary. I appreciate what you just said. I'm not begging for compliments. I just want to make sure that a lot of people are going, yes, this was great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm not begging for compliments. Don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that we're all there. Kevin Russell, is your father Patrick Russell? I need to know if that is your father or not, because that would be very interesting, because I know he used to play around in this business for a while. No, it is not. Okay, that's okay. So that being said, and I don't see any questions, Margie or Mike, I'm going to turn it back over to you. You got to unmute yourself, but thank you all so much. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. I love my Terps. I love Maryland. I want to get back up there soon. I hope you have a great summer and go to Ocean City, hon. Go down and get yourself a natty bow down the ocean.
So thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate your time today and enjoyed your discussion. Also want a couple of reminders. Number one, obviously sign up for and participate in the events for the MMMBA. That's a tough one for me to say. I'm a Virginia person, like Mike had mentioned. Also wanted to mention that the PMW is having a roundtable discussion on this 24th of May at 2 o'clock. It's titled Out of the Minds and Mouths of Realtors. So we're going to be having a roundtable discussion about market conditions, low inventory, bidding wars, et cetera, et cetera. So please join PMW on the 24th at 2 p.m. as well. And again, thanks so much, Steve. Really enjoyed your presentation. Mike, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I would just echo the same thing. Thanks a lot, Steve and Margie, for helping to organize. Great event, and for everyone for attending. Had a great turnout. And I do see a question in the chat. The presentation will be available. Amanda's going to send that out. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Everybody.